In this video, I'll show you how I planted this strawberry tree that has been in this grow bag for just over a year now. I purchased this tree in August of 2019. It was transplanted to this grow bag shortly afterwards. These trees are fast growing, so it's going to be a good opportunity to see how these grow bags compare to traditional plastic pots. I've transplanted several trees like this pear tree. This tree came in a small 3-gallon container. I'm not sure how long it had been growing in that container, but as you can see, the roots had curled and it was root bound. As bad as this one is, I've had others that are much worse than this. I've done some research on grow bags, and supposedly one of the main advantages is that the roots don't curl like they do in traditional pots, so they don't get root bound. What happens is when the roots reach the fabric, a process referred to as air pruning begins. This process keeps the roots from circling in the pot. As the root comes into contact with the fabric, it naturally stops growing and begins to send off smaller feeder roots. The result is a healthier root structure capable of absorbing moisture and nutrients. With traditional nursery pots, when the roots reach the plastic, it just redirects the root until it reaches another plastic wall, and then it redirects once more and eventually circles into a ball of unhealthy roots not capable of absorbing water and nutrients from the soil. Although I've been using grow bags for some time now, I've never really had the opportunity to test just how much better they are than plastic pots. This tree has been in this grow bag for over a year, and it's classified as a fast-growing tree, so this should be a good opportunity to see how the root structure is. I'll show you what it looked like in a few. Before I get to that, I'd like to show you this watermelon I'm about to harvest. This vine is starting to die off, so this watermelon and a couple of others need to be harvested soon. As I mentioned in another video, I've read that it's time to harvest watermelons when the tendrils closest to the watermelon have dried. Like these here, and also that there's a yellowish color on the bottom. This one here is ready, so I'll be harvesting it. This was a good-sized watermelon. It weighed 17 pounds and it had good color and excellent flavor. A few weeks ago I harvested another one. That one was much bigger and it weighed over 20 pounds. It was harvested in early November and it also had really good flavor. Before starting on the strawberry tree, here's a picture of a recently harvested dragon fruit. I'll show you what this fruit looked like on the inside, and at the end of this video, I'll share a little info on what I learned regarding when to pick them. But for now, let's get back to the planting of this strawberry tree. Of my trees have been planted in pretty much the same manner as what you're about to see. I'd also like to mention that this whole area was previously prepped, so the planting hole didn't have to be all that big. After digging the hole, I added a little azomite and some mycorrhiza. Next, I removed the tree from the grow bag and inspected the roots. As you can see, there's no roots circling in the bag. And as I previously mentioned, this is a fast-growing tree. I'm fairly certain if this tree would have been in a plastic round pot of a similar size, I would have probably had roots circling like the roots from the previous hood pear video. After inspecting the root system, I sprinkled some mycorrhiza on the sides. I then planted the tree slightly above grade. Next, I dug a small trench around the planting area. I then cut a couple of strips of wire mesh. Each strip measured 24 inches in length by about 4.5 inches in height. I tied both pieces together, and before connecting the last two pieces together, I made sure to place the wire mesh around the base of the tree before connecting them. I then positioned the wire mesh in the trench I had dug. I cleared off some of the topsoil, just enough to expose the top of the root ball. I then sprinkled some mycorrhiza on top of the root ball, and then some worm castings on top of that. At this point, I usually fill in the screened area with pumice or volcanic rock. I prefer pumice, but I haven't been able to find a good source lately, so I've been using volcanic rock instead. I've used it on several of my fruit trees, like these figs, which are doing pretty good. I've also used it on several others, and they all seem to be doing well, so hopefully the volcanic rock will be a good alternative. This time around, I had to add a heavy layer of granite rock. I thought I had enough volcanic rock, but it turned out I only had a small amount, so I had to use lots of granite instead. Once the inner wire mesh circle was filled, I added wood chips to the surrounding area. I like using the wire mesh method because it keeps the wood chips away from the trunk. If you've been following my channel, you've heard me talk about the squirrels in my area. I've read that in addition to eating the fruit off your trees, they like chewing on bark as well. They like using the bark that they chew off the trees in order to build their nests. I have a couple of trees that have been gnawed on. I'm not sure if it was the squirrels or some other rodent, but it was chewed on towards the bottom of the trunk. So by using the wire mesh with either volcanic rock or pumice, it will keep the wood chips away from the exposed wood on the trunk as the wood chips break down. Well, that'll be it for the strawberry tree. I'll be sure to keep you updated on its progress. Next, I'd like to share with you what I learned about this dragon fruit. This is a Blanco dragon fruit. I previously posted a video on this one which showed the flower to fruit set cycle. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one. From research I've done, you're supposed to wait until there's a little play when you wiggle the fruit when it's still on the vine. It's also supposed to be slightly soft to the touch. You're supposed to pick them when it's about somewhere between 35 to 40 days after being pollinated. I had been checking the firmness on this one periodically after it had reached about 35 days since being pollinated, and it never really showed any give. it was still on there firm, so I wound up waiting longer than what I should have, I believe. This one went well beyond the 35 to 40 days, and I wound up picking it after 60 days from it being pollinated. This is what it looked like inside. It had nice color, but you can see the white flesh was starting to darken slightly. The taste was sweet, but not as much as I thought it would be. Overall, the flavor was good, but it was clear that I had left it on a bit too long. Next go around, if it's still firm and fails the wiggle test during the recommended picking period, I'm not going to let it go past 40 days regardless. Hopefully by picking it within that window of 35 to 40 days, it'll have a much sweeter flavor. I'll be sure to post a follow-up video if and when I get another harvest. That'll be it for this video. I hope you are all doing well and will be able to enjoy the holidays in spite of all that is going on. As always, stay safe, grow your own, and thank you for watching.